You know, it's a casino, but it doesn't have, unfortunately, in this casino gulag model in America, the food is not cheap and the housing is not cheap. That's the big difference.
Continue.
Well, I think that I'll put something on the table here for you to consider, which is that the country that was the first into the meat grinder of this huge globalized syndicated fraud, it was Iceland. And Iceland, the Icelandic population, the bankers on Wall Street. Now, I was in Iceland. As you know, I made a film about this. I was in Iceland, and a year before it collapsed, it's a film on YouTube called Money Keiser. I sat down with bankers in Iceland, and I said, your krona and your economy is about to collapse. And they said, no, it's not. That night, I was in a sushi restaurant in a Hotel 101 in Reykjavik, and there were these Lehman Brothers brokers. And, of course, I worked on Wall Street for many years, so I struck up a conversation. And they were telling me that they were plotting to crash the krona to make a huge score. And I said, yeah, but the banker here just told me that, you know, this economy is in great shape. You know, it sounds risky. And they're like, no, you don't understand. They've leveraged themselves 10 to 1. The entire GDP has been leveraged 10 to 1. And we've got this global syndicate of short sellers and all of our regular crew. And we're going to take this krona, we're going to take this economy down, and we're going to score huge. And that's exactly what they did.
And now Goldman Sachs pilots the entire banking system and policy and has their people at all levels of government. Instead of them being arrested and the nightmare ending, it isn't going to end. It's going to get more and more hellish. And Jack Bauer tortures people to get answers and tortures children. Everybody fantasizes to be a torturer. Now they all get to be tortured, or you go get a job as a humiliator and an abuser, and it just gets sicker and sicker and sicker.
Well, now in Iceland, they are voting on whether or not to reimburse the UK government for millions of dollars that were guaranteed by the bankers on UK savers, $5.5 billion worth of savings that were used to fuel the speculative run-up in Reykjavik. And now the UK government classified Iceland as a terrorist for not paying back, for not allowing the citizens to be forced to pay back the speculative money that was lost by the bankers. And now they want the citizens to fork over billions of dollars for restitution to the bankers and the speculators. And if they don't do that, they're threatening all kinds of draconian measures and destitution in Iceland. And the people have been out there rioting in the streets because they're being forced to riot in the streets because the bankers are putting them out of their homes.
Let me stop you. This is so key. They've been rioting for more than 10 months, taking over government buildings, a very highly educated, low crime rate, some of the most professional people in the world. They have been rioting for coming up on a year. And I remember seeing that at least 8 months ago in the London Guardian, like it was normal that Brown used anti-terror legislation to seize the bank accounts of Icelanders that had their money in British banks inside Iceland and without. So for those that want to know, just like the Homeland Security documents that we got that we leaked last year say the real threat to Homeland Security is conservatives, libertarians, anti-war people, gun owners, veterans. This whole thing is to rob your bank account. Max Keiser.
Well, on that front, there was a great piece in ZeroHedge.com website about a little legislation that was just sneaked in a couple of weeks ago, which now makes it possible for the banks to declare that they are not going to honor money market funds, that they can seize money market funds at any time for any reason, which means so anyone who's got money in a money market fund in any of the banks or brokers in the United States, as of now, the banks can claim that for any reason that they deem appropriate, they can seize those
and
accounts.
That's just the standard savings account for most people. I mean, the little bit of money I've got in the bank, because I don't trust the banks, but to run the business, it's in money markets. Wow, you just dropped a bomb on me, Max. What's the headline on that? I want to look it up.
It's on ZeroHedge.com is the site, and it's, let's see, if you just put money market seizure, money market seizing.
Unbelievable. I mean, it just gets, Max, it's clear. They're getting ready to really drop the hammer, aren't they?
Well, again, it's just you have to understand the model, the business model. You know, I'm primarily a stockbroker and a businessman. You know, I look at this from the money side of the equation. And you just have to understand, you know, for example, from the money side of the equation, going back to when they declared the so-called war on terror, at the exact same time, John Poindexter, who was Assistant Treasury to the Defense Department.
Tell us about that when we come back. Our country is descending into the most horrible sci-fi tyranny you can imagine. The planet is falling to the terrorists that stage the terror attacks and then fund themselves off of all the security measures they put in. Max Keiser calls coming up in the next segment. We're going to look at the economy and what's happening there. But continuing, we're bringing up Poindexter wanting to create, and this was in the Washington Post. In fact, they tried to launch it. Well, for those that don't know, tell people about it. Literally making terrorism part of the economy. And then I have another question that dovetails with that, because we know about the insider trading on American and United before 9/11. Did you look at the stocks? I haven't done this, of the body scanner companies in the days before Christmas. Let me guess. I bet some bets were made that the stock was going to go way up.
I haven't looked at the numbers on that. Let's get back to John Poindexter for a second. You know, John Poindexter was higher up in the Department of Justice in the military in the U.S. And during this launch of the War on Terror, he launched the so-called Policy Analysis Market, or PAM, which was going to be an online virtual exchange where people can speculate on the next terror attack. And John Poindexter was saying, well, you know, the point of this is to use the markets, which are efficient. You know, this whole mantra that markets are efficient. And that's part of the whole casino mentality, is that the reason why everything has become securitized and everything is now a market, and the health business is going to be on a market, and the climate change is going to be carbon trading market. The reason everything is on a market is because there's this belief that markets are efficient. So John Poindexter is saying that, yes, if we only turn terror into an online tradable market, then we would know in advance where the next strike is going to be, and we would prepare accordingly. But, of course, all it does is it gives yet the insiders another way to profit on the terror that they themselves are stoking. You know, as Ron Paul has said recently, they are terrorists because we're occupiers, end quote. And so if you're an occupying force and you're causing terror and you're already making billions, well, why not add another layer on top of this, call it the policy analysis market, sell to the public as if you're going to help figure out the next attack, but all it is you're just making more money on the attacks that you're already creating. Because
they always, it comes out, know beforehand and let real attacks take place, but more often than not, they're staging the attack to begin with.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about making money much faster than waiting around and clipping coupons. They're 5% or 6% on your money. If you had a chance to make 100% in 5 weeks, then you'd go ahead and do it. And that's what's behind all the policies. All the policies in Washington are created by speculators. The energy policies are created by the oil speculators. The health policies are created by the health and insurance industry, which are speculators. They're all basically speculating on the global markets in one way or another. The banking industry is certainly, all the policies there are created by the banking industry. It's like Enron. Remember, Enron created the energy policies under Bush. That's continued. All the speculators write the policies in Washington in ways that make it easier for them to speculate. They have access to cheap money at the Federal Reserve at near 0% interest rates. And there's no regulatory framework. There's no Glass-Steagall. There's nothing holding them back. They can make all the crazy bets they want. They can invade countries that they know are going to cause certain stocks and commodities to go in certain ways, bank the profits, book the profits. Oh, and whenever they make a mistake, they claim, oh, it's terrorists, and we need to go to the taxpayer to bail us out. So it's heads we win, tails everybody else loses. They've been doing it now for years, and that's why the wealth and income gap in America is so huge. It's never been higher. Even during the robber baron period in American history, you never had a wealth and income gap as high as it is now. It's never been as high as it is right now. This is exactly the situation that existed pre-American war for independence. America didn't want to be under the thumb of an aristocratic occupying royalty. But this is exactly the situation today. The bankers are an occupying force of aristocrats, that are simply engaging in this casino gulag model where heads they win, tails we lose, and to keep us stupid and in line, they bring in these airport scanners, which are humiliating, which is just a way to create mass depression, and then they feed on that depression, and of course they sell you the drugs to help you treat your depression, and of course the health industry policies are written by the drug companies who are also speculating.
Max Keiser is our guest. We're going to get into his outlook for 2010 in the economy as things are consolidated and vertically integrated through the Homeland Security global dictatorship. It's planetary. We are also going to open the phones up and take your calls at 1-800-259-9231. I'm Alex Jones. Our websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv, and JonesReport.com. Stay with us.